It's not a way to make money. It's a way to find emotional satisfaction in what you do, and I certainly get my share of that. I love what I do. It isn't very rewarding yet, but maybe it will be. But it doesn't. I'm not in it for that. If I was in it for money, I'd have been a lawyer. I like doing what I do. I really enjoy it.
You love the speaking too. I can tell just in the places I've seen you.
I do. I love, getting up in front of people. I just like making it clear. I like, explaining it to people and letting them see and come up to me afterwards and say, I never understood this before, but now I understand it. That's why let me just, if I can, again, plug the book again. Please, everyone listening, if you can, make yourself aware of what I'm talking about with the Starchild. Do it. Get the book if you can. Just go to the website if you can't do that. The book's easily available through Amazon. Again, if you want the hardback, go to www.bellatbooks.com or call the 800 number, 1-800-992-4821. It isn't going to make me rich, but it'll make you rich in knowledge and understanding of this incredible event that's going to come down the pipe this year, and you will be prepared for it. You'll be able to discuss it with your friends and your enemies and the people that make fun of you. You're going to be able to rub their noses in it. And I really urge you to make yourself aware, understand it, understand the arguments, understand why the genetics are going to work. The pages, the pictures are there in the book on the website for you to show and prove what I'm telling you. Just make yourself understand so you can explain it and make them understand it.
Why do you think scientists kind of shy away from what you call searching for the truth?
Because they just simply don't want to have to say they're wrong. I've got a book. I really would like you to contact a guy named Christopher Hardiker. There's a book called The First American that came out last year. You want to hear a story that will curl your hair about science, this will do it. In the Valsequillo, and I'm not sure that I say this right because of the Spanish, but the Valsequillo Reservoir, back in the 60s, George, they started discovering artifacts that when they dated them, they dated out to 250,000 years ago. This is near Mexico City. 250,000 years ago, worked stone tools. Now, this flew so badly in the face of the Clovis first theorists who say that the first Americans, the first people to come to the Americas, had to come at the end of the last ice age, and the Clovis points were the first and all that. Imagine from 12 to 15,000 years ago as the upper limit for when mainstream science would accept that human, type people were here, to 250,000 years ago minimum, and possibly more than 1 million years ago in this one area. And all the things that they do, that science does to squash this down and not let this come out, known in the 60s, mind you, and they succeed for 35 years. And then a woman who was there named Virginia Steen McIntyre comes on a documentary in the late 90s, 30 some odd years later, and just the roof blows off, and they have to re-squash it down again from having her come on, and her career was ruined by being involved in it and everything. This is an incredible story of scientific malfeasance at the highest level. It's called The First American. The guy is Christopher Hardiker, and your audience would be absolutely enthralled by this guy's story, by the Valsequillo story. I know I was. It's a great book. I would recommend it to anybody. Just like the Upright Ape, although that's a lot more difficult reading, The Upright Ape by Dr. Aaron Fuller. He's the one that found that the Miocene apes, there were indeed upright walking Miocene apes through the entire Miocene. That's a much more scientifically technical book, and I don't think it would be as much fun to read as The First American. That's the way I write, where anybody can read it and enjoy it.
Lloyd, isn't it amazing how so many past civilizations discuss through their tablets and their writings and their symbols extraterrestrial presence? I mean, it is so cut and dry. Yeah.
Absolutely. So cut and dry and consistent across all of those cultures. You would think that with that much anecdotal evidence coming out of the historical record, that one scientist would look at another one and say, maybe these people knew what they were talking about. Instead of just, we choose not to believe it, so they have to all be complete morons and not know anything about what they were talking about.
Dramatic research on your part, and I hope everything falls into place.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the support you and the Coast to Coast staff have given me over the years, including Art. It's been a long decade for all of us, but we're really close to fruition here, George, and I'm happy to be able to announce it tonight and to share it with you and all of your listeners.
I can hear it in your voice.
I mean,
there have been moments of frustration, but this time I hear it in your voice that you feel
relief is not even the word for this. I mean, can you imagine having someone call you up and say, "We're willing to put in whatever it takes. Get us a number. We want to do this." And I get the number, and it's $200,000. And I call them back, and there's a big gulp on the end of the line. And they say, "Let me get back to you on that." They go out, they find some partners that are willing to come in on it, and we've got a deal. It's amazing.
Well, and they're going to do it the right way.
Well, the point is, the main point is, look, if they're going to put up that kind of money, they've already studied the book, studied what I do, and they know it's a good gamble. It's a good risk. It's not even a gamble. They know it's going to happen, or they wouldn't do it. Nobody would put up that kind of money if they weren't sure. It was as sure as I am that it was going to happen. It's going to happen.
It'll happen. Stay with us, Lloyd, because what's going to happen next, when we come back at the top of the hour, we'll open up the phone lines for you. Lloyd's got a couple websites linked up at coasttocoastam.com, lloydpye.com, P-Y-E, and then starchildproject.com. I'm George Norrie, back in a moment on Coast to Coast AM. And you, because you're going to make phone calls now with Lloyd Pye, our special guest on Coast to Coast AM. Lloyd, do you think some scientists would do whatever they could do to get you to stop doing the testing on the Starchild?
Well, I think some would if they knew what I was doing. For the most part, this has been a very low-profile program for the whole, 10 years. Even though it's been on television and, the programs that we talked about earlier, it's not the kind of thing that mainstream science concerns itself with. They just don't pay attention. I think we're going to be able to blindside them on it, frankly. Now, the word may get out. But I don't think they can stop it now. I think it's at a point of, it's reached critical mass. It's becoming known at high enough levels to where people are putting serious money down to find out the answer, and I think they have a very strong intuition about what that answer is going to be, or they wouldn't be putting that kind of money down. So that's why, this is an exciting time, and I don't think there's a lot that science can do now to stop it. I think its profile is up high enough in certain circles. Certainly everybody that's been listening to your show, and that's millions of people over the years, there's a lot of folks out there that would be able to hoop and holler if something were to go wrong with this, and that's why I urge everybody to make themselves even more familiar with what we've done already with the Starchild, so if anybody does try to stop us, we can raise a furor and get them to back down on it.
Okay, let's go to some of the calls. We'll go to David driving around in St. Louis. You're on the air with us. Hello, David.
Yeah, hey, George. I got a question.
Sure thing.
There. It seems like most scientists are evolutionists, and that would be the reason for butting heads there with Lloyd. I was wondering, since his theory falls more in line with the story of Genesis, has he had any support from any religious organizations?
I don't know if you heard him at all, Lloyd.
I really didn't hear it, George. Could you tell me what he said?
One more time, because you're breaking up just a bit, David.
I'm sorry about that, George.
Sure.
I was wondering if he had any support from any religious organizations, since his theory falls more in line with the story of Genesis than it does evolution.
Okay. Any support with religious groups behind what you do, Lloyd?
No, not a bit. And in fact, I heard what he said, that this falls more in line with Genesis than with evolution. It really doesn't fall in line, I don't think, with Genesis at all, really. I don't think either religion or science is going to be necessarily happy about accommodating alien reality. I think religion will have an easier time of it than science, but I don't think that either one of them are going to be particularly happy about having to alter their